The Grizzlies West is a cold, tough environment, known for its dangerous below freezing weather and its difficult geography. Suffice to say that if you lose your way up here, your prospects of survival rapidly grow thinner with every passing minute, and the region is dotted with various examples of those who have met with that very misfortune. It's safe to say that this environment is totally inhospitable, which makes this discovery that you can find up in the mountains one that raises many questions, which can lead us to a frightening discovery. Just a short distance east of Spider Gorge, we can stumble across a chilling discovery. See what I did there? It's cold up here. We can find a 14 cow strong herd completely frozen, laying lifeless in the snow. None appear to have any visible injuries, they just appear to have all frozen to death. Courtesy of being able to use a free cam to get below them, I can tell you that these are cows, not bulls, because I know if I don't disclose that, there'll be somebody down in the comments trying to correct me even if I'm right. You can find neck pieces on some of the cattle which would indicate that they were domesticated, which leads us to the question, how the hell did they stray into the Grizzlies? Who owned these cows and where are they? And why would their cattle be anywhere near here? They're up in the mountains slap bang in the middle of nowhere. You can actually find articles for missing cows, though none list the number 14. So nobody's looking for these cows, at least as far as we can tell, specifically speaking anyway. But what if these cows' former human company is frozen up here somewhere as well? If we head all the way to Annesburg and purchase issue number 35 of the New Hanover Gazette, we can read a rather fascinating article. Remains of families found. Reports of cannibalism. Man is the most predatory and indeed carnivorous of all the animals, but what drives men to revert to the uncivilized, savage state of cannibalism? That question is on the minds of investigators who have discovered human remains in a cave near an abandoned wagon train in the Grizzlies east of Lake Isabella. Teeth marks on the remains indicate the cave dwellers resorted to eating each other, possibly in order to survive. Early reports say the remains are believed to be the Drennan and Harville families whose wagon train disappeared in January of 1896. Scientists are currently excavating the scene. In the game we can find a cave with human remains in it west of Lake Isabella, and while I doubt it was the cannibal cave that was mentioned, it could still be related. There is a wagon here with no sign of any animals that can pull it. Inside the chest in the wagon you can find cobalt petrified wood. You can find remains of some description protruding from the snow, and it's obvious that this scene has been here for quite some time. That being said, whether or not it's relevant to the story in the article is unknown. You're right, I probably should explain how the cows factor into this newspaper article, but to understand that we need to first understand that this article is an Easter egg, or at least that's how it seems. Presumably it's a reference to the Donner Party, a group of American pioneers who migrated to California in a wagon train. They spent the winter of late 1846 and early 1847 stuck in the Sierra Nevada mountain range due to adverse weather conditions. Some of the migrants in the Donner Party resorted to cannibalism in order to survive, eating the corpses of those who died due to either starvation or sickness. The research did also bring up some cases of murder. There were initially 87 members of the Donner Party, 48 survived. Interestingly, one of the youngest members of the Donner Party's name was Isabella, who at the time was just shy of a year old, who according to my research was the last surviving member of the Donner Party to die, which happened in the year 1935, aged roughly 90 years old. Funnily enough, in the article, Lake Isabella is mentioned. Did Rockstar name this lake after that Isabella? Now back to how this ties the in-game Easter egg to the cattle that we find. Well, if my research isn't letting me down, the Donner Party's wagon train was pulled by cattle. Also, the frozen cattle in Red Dead Redemption 2 are found northeast of Lake Isabella, while the supposed cave housing the remains of the Drennan and Harville families was found east of Lake Isabella, which means the location where we found the frozen cows and the location where this cave is supposedly at can't be that far away from one another. So did these frozen cows once pull the wagon train of the Drennan and Harville families? And if they were, how did they avoid being eaten? Because surely beef is more appeasing to a human's appetite than their fellow human. Maybe it's a similar story to the Donner Party, who seemingly abandoned their cattle before they ran out of supplies. While out exploring, you can actually have a campfire encounter with a survivor who bailed on the wagon train before the cannibalism stuff went down.
You have regrets? I've been a loner for a long time. Prefer it that way. But my brother wrote to me and asked me if I'd help his family move out west. We hadn't spoken in years. Two very different fellers. But I thought, this is something I can do. Wish I could tell you this had a happy ending. I travel out to meet them, ride with the wagon train, them and a couple other families. All soft-handed city types. Couple of days in, my brother's irking me something rotten. Asking when I'm gonna settle down, acting like he's better. So, just as we start the climb to cross over the grizzlies, I bolt and don't look back. And you know what? They got caught in bad weather in the mountains and died. Every single one. Even started eating each other. And I'll always have that one on my conscience.
So what do you think? Do you think the cows are related to this Easter egg little story that you can find in passing in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2? Or do you think they're unrelated? I personally think the correlation there is completely logical, and I can't think of any other explanation for there being a random frozen herd of 14 cows miles away from an environment that can actually sustain them. On top of that, we also got to learn of a cool little story that fills the world of Red Dead Redemption 2 and see how it ties in with real world history. But you guessed it, that is the conclusion of today's video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff. That would be fantastic. And please remember to dress up warm if you're going to go exploring the grizzlies. Anyway, I shall see you all very soon with another video at some point, but until next time, goodbye.